Good afternoon, ENG1D1. Miss Boshcoff here. We are finishing up on Act 5, Scene 1. Let's take a look at the summary here. Back at Theseus's palace, the three weddings have already taken place. Hippolyta now becomes interested in the story that the lovers have told. Theseus, however, dismisses the whole tale as imagined nonsense. The three couples then discuss the entertainment that is being offered to them by the citizens of Athens. Theseus chooses to have Bottom's group perform, Pyramus and Thisbe. When the play is over, everyone retires to bed. The fairies enter the palace, and Oberon has his attendants bless everyone in the house. He then blesses the royal union. Okay, so he's going to bless all of the marriages. When Hippolyta becomes interested in the story that the lovers have told, she is actually going to consider that maybe it was true, that maybe there really are fairies. Of course, her husband-to-be, the Duke, is going to contrast that by just dismissing it as complete and utter BS. Okay, so let's take a look here at the sketch on the opposite page. Again, it really helps us to understand the setting. Again, setting is always two things, time and place. So we see here that this is the performance of Pyramus and Thisbe. We see the line at the bottom there, and they're getting ready to perform their play in front of Duke Theseus. Okay, so let's get right into this here. Act 5, Scene 1. There is only one scene in this act. It's taking place in Athens. We're at the palace of Theseus. Enter Theseus, Hippolyta, Philostrate. Philostrate, again, is the master of ceremonies. He's kind of like Theseus's social director. So he just checks everything out. He has hosted the auditions, and so he knows what's what as far as quality goes with the possible or the options for the entertainment. Okay, so let's start right in with Hippolyta.
'Tis strange, my Theseus, that these lovers speak of.
More strange than true, I never may believe these antique fables nor these fairy toys. Lovers and madmen have such seething brains, such shaping fantasies that apprehend more than cool reason ever comprehends. The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact. One sees more devils than vast hell can hold. That is, the madman, the lover, all as frantic, sees Helen's beauty in a brow of Egypt. The poet's eye, in a fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven, and as imagination's bodies forth, the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and name. Such tricks hath strong imagination, that if it would but apprehend some joy, it comprehends some bringer of that joy, or in the night imagining some fear, how easy is a bush supposed a bear.
Okay, so I'm just gonna stop you there for a moment. Theseus here is going to suggest that it is all nonsense. Of course, this can't be true. There's no such thing as fairies. And he's gonna say that these fairy fables are similar to the brains of lovers and madmen. Again, here we have the repetition of the theme, love is foolish, or you are foolish when you are in love. In other words, he's going to say, if you are a lover, you're kind of a madman too, and you have a seething brain, which means you kind of have shit for brains. So even though a little bit later on, Hippolyta is going to say, I don't know. I think that there's got to be something here in this story. They all have the same story, and they all remember it exactly the same way and at the same time. So, okay, let's keep going here. Hippolyta.
That all the story of the night told over, and all their minds transfigured so together, more
Witnesseth? Yeah. Just do your best. Witnesseth.
Then fancy imagines, and and grows to something of great consistency, but however strange and admirable.
Yeah, so she's saying here, I don't know, I disagree with you, Theseus. I think there's something here. They're all telling the same story. I don't think it's made up nonsense. Theseus.
Here come the lovers full of joy and mirth.
Enter Lysander, Demetrius, Hermia, and Helena.
Joy, gentle friends, joy and fresh days of love accompany your hearts.
More than us, who wait in your royal walks, your board, your bed.
Okay, so Theseus says to everybody else, I wish you joy and wedded bliss. And Lysander says, hey, back at ya. I wish you peace and joy in your walks, in your boardroom, and in your bed. Now, he means this to be to create healthy and happy children. Okay, keep going. Theseus?
Come now, what masks, what dances shall we have, to wear away this long age of 3 hours between our after supper and bedtime? Where is our usual manager of mirth? What revels are in hand? Is there no play to ease the anguish of torturing hour? I'll illustrate.
Here, mighty Theseus.
Say, what abridgment have you for this evening? What masks, what music? How shall we beguile the lazy time, if not with some delights?
There is a brief how many sports are right. Make choice of which your highness will see first.
Yeah, so Philostrate is in charge of the social activities, and he says, yeah, I have a list. I have a brief. I have a list of all of the options. I'm going to give you this list. You look over it. You tell me what option you think is the best. So Theseus is going to read the first option here.
The battle with the centaurs, to be sung by an Athenian
Eunuch.
to the harp.
Yeah, a eunuch is has no sexual parts. Okay, keep going.
We'll have none of that. I told my love in the glory of kinsman Hercules.
So option number 2.
The right of the
Tipsy? Tipsy.
Bacchanals,
Yep, good.
tearing the Thracian singer in their rage. That is an old device, and it was played when Thebes came last a conqueror.
Yeah, option number 3.
The thrice 3 muses mourning for the death of learning, late deceased in beggary. That is some satire, keen and critical, not starting with the nuptial ceremony.
And then option number 4.
A tedious, brief scene of young Pyramus and his lover Thisbe. Very tragical mirth. Merry and tragical, tedious and brief. That is hot ice and wondrous strange snow. How shall we find the concord of this discord?
Okay, so Theseus says, yeah, I don't like the first 3. They're not really suitable to a wedding celebration. But he's intrigued by this last one. So he says, what do you think, Philostrate? Do you think the last one's pretty good? Is that a good choice? So Philostrate.
A play there is, my lord, some 10 words long, which is as brief as I know to play. But by 10 words, my lord, it is too long, which makes it tedious for in all the play. There is not one word at one player fitted, and tragical, my noble lord, it is, for Pyramus therein doth kill himself, which, when I saw rehearsed, I must confess, made mine eyes water, but more merry tears, the passion of loud laughter never shed. Okay, so Philostrate responds here. So he's watching the auditions, kind of like Simon Cowell, right, on X Factor. And he says, oh, this play is not that great. It is, the wording is not fantastic. The acting is not so great. And he says, the only time I really was affected was when I started to cry. But I cried not because it was so great, but because I wanted it to be over. And so Theseus then says,
What are they that do play it?
Hard-handed men that work in Athens here, which never labored in their minds till now, and now have toiled their unbreathed memories, and with the same play against your name. Okay, so Philostrate responds, oh, these people who are trying to perform this play, they are not well seasoned. They are Athenian workmen who have never, ever even attempted to perform a play really before. And
Yeah, but they have worked hard, and this is an important point, the fact that they have worked hard, because a little bit later on, Theseus is going to defend these actors by saying he would rather have these unseasoned but sincere actors perform rather than somebody who is very seasoned, who practices his lines and then gets so nervous that he forgets them all. So he says, I respect these men for doing their best. I think it's sincere, and I respect that.
And we will hear it.
No, my noble lord, it is not for you. I have heard it over, and it is nothing, nothing in the world. Unless you can find sport in their intents, extremely stretched and conned with cruel pain to do you service.
I will hear that play, for nothing ever can be amiss when simpleness and duty tender it. Go, bring them in, and take your place, ladies.
Okay, so this is an important point to point out here, because one of the questions asks you about Theseus's love of simple things. And this is the quote you're looking for. I'm giving you a hint here. So he says, yeah, nothing can be wrong when people are approaching things with real sincerity and genuineness. So he says, I like it. I like it. I'm going to give them a try.
I love not to see wretchedness overcharged and duty in his service perishing.
Why, gentle sweets, you shall see no such thing.
He says they can do nothing in this kind.
The kind are we to give them thanks for nothing. Our sport shall be to take what they mistake. And what poor duty cannot do, noble respect takes it in might, not merit. Where I have come, great clerks have proposed to greet me with premeditated welcomes. Where I have seen them shiver and look pale, make periods in the midst of their sentences, throttle their practiced accent in their fears, and in conclusion dumbly have broke off. Not paying me a welcome, trust me, sweet.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you there because, again, it's important to understand what it is Theseus is saying here, because this idea is going to be repeated right at the end of our play. The idea is that he respects anyone who sincerely wants to succeed, regardless of their intelligence or their class. And he says, I've seen educated, capable men give like crap performances because they were so nervous. I would rather see somebody really sincere try. So this proves that Theseus is a very kind man after all. The other thing to consider is he is still trying to impress Hippolyta. Right at the beginning of the play, he said, I will wed thee in a different way. I fell in love with you when I was at war with you, but I'm not a brute. I'm going to prove it to you. And so, again, he is still trying to impress her here. And he is impressive. He's kind here. He's being a kind person. Okay.
Out of your silence yet I picked a welcome, and in the modesty of fearful duty, I read as much from the rattling tongue of saucy and audacious eloquence. Love, therefore, and tongue-tied simplicity in least speak most to my capacity.
Yeah, so again, he says, in my opinion, I prefer to hear sincere speeches rather than strategic speeches designed to manipulate me.
So please, your grace, the prologue is addressed.
Let him approach.
Okay, enter Quince for the prologue.
If we offend, it is with our goodwill that you should think we come not to offend, but with goodwill to show our simple skill that is the true beginning of our end. Consider then we come, but in despite. We do not come as minding to content you. Our true intent, all for your delight. We are not here that you should hear repent you. The actors are at hand, and by their show you shall know all that you are like to know.
Okay, good job, Dylan. That's hard to read because the punctuation is all messed up, right? And so this prologue is actually supposed to clarify things, right? Remember, he said, I will write a prologue so that the audience is not confused, that they know that these aren't real actors, etc. So this prologue is supposed to clarify things, but it doesn't. It actually confuses it because he doesn't follow the right punctuation. Now, the aristocratic members of the audience, the Duke and the Duchess and the new Duchess and the newlywed lovers are going to notice that he's not following the punctuation, and it's making it confusing. So that's what their next comments are.
This fellow doth not stand upon poets.
He hath writ his
Prologue?
prologue like a rough colt. He knows not to stop a good moral, my lord. It is not enough to speak, but to speak true.
Yeah, follow proper punctuation.
Indeed, he hath played on his prologue like a child on a record, a sound but not in government.
His speech was like a tangled chain, nothing impaired, but all disordered. Who is next?
Enter Pyramus, Thisbe, Wall, Moonshine, and Lantern. And Lion.
Gentles, perchance you wonder at this show, but wonder on till truth make all things plain. This man is Pyramus, if you would know. This beauteous lady Thisbe is certain. This man with lime and rough cast doth present wall, that vile wall which did these lovers surrender.
Thunder. Yeah, they talked through this wall.
And though walls chink, poor souls, they are content to whisper, at which let no man wonder. This man with lantern, dog, and bush of thorn presented moonshine, for if you will know, by moonshine did these lovers think no scorn to meet at Nina's tomb.
Tomb, yep.
There to woo this grisly beast, which lion hight by name, this trusty Thisbe, coming first by night, did he scare away, or rather did affright, and as she fled, her mantle she did fall, which lion vile with bloody mouth did stain. Anon comes Pyramus, sweet, young, and tall, and find his trusty Thisbe mantle slain, weary with bloody bladeful blade, he bravely
Broached. Yep.
his boiling bloody beast, and Thisbe, tarrying in mulberry shade, his dagger drew and died. For all the rest, let lion, moonshine, wall, and lovers twain at large discourse, or here may be remain.
Okay, so this part is like a big summary of the story. So he's explaining through the wall's chink, through the little hole or crack, these two lovers exchanged conversation. And unfortunately, when they decided to finally meet, Thisbe arrived early. She dropped her scarf. A lion came along and tore at the scarf and got blood all in it. When Pyramus finally did arrive, he believed that the lion killed his love Thisbe. And he proceeds to then kill himself, stabs himself in the boiling bloody breast. And then he dies, of course. Okay, so then they leave, and Theseus has a little comment about this. Okay.
I wonder if the lion be to speak.
No wonder, my lord, one lion may when many asses do.
So again, they've already decided that the actors are not very good, that they are asses, right? Okay.
In the same interlude it doth befall that I one snout by name present a wall, and such a wall as I would have you think that had in it a crannied hole or chink, through which the lovers Pyramus and Thisbe did whisper often very secretly. This loam, this rough cast, and this stone doth show that I am that same wall. The truth is so, and this the cranny is, right and sinister, through which the fearful lovers are to whisper.
Would you desire lime and hair to speak better?
It is the wittiest partition that I have ever heard discourse, my lord.
Pyramus draws near the wall. Silence.
Re-enter Pyramus. Who's Pyramus?
I'm bottom.
Yeah, that's
Super
their
smart.
message.
Oh, grim looking night. Oh, night with hue so black. Oh, night, whichever art one day is not. Oh, night, alack, alack, alack. I fear my Thisby's promise is forgot. And thou, O wall, O sweet, O lovely wall, that standst between her father's ground and mine. Thou wall, O sweet and lovely wall. Though meet thy chink to blink through the wall's eyne.
Yeah, so he's kind of like Captain Obvious here, right? When really he could have just said, this is the wall. Or, is it Snug? Snug could have said, I play a wall, right? So they go into all this verbal diarrhea about things that are really obvious. Yes, we can tell that you are playing a wall. So yeah, so lots of Captain Obvious happening here. Okay, Wall holds up his fingers into, yeah.
Thanks, courteous wall.
Hush, hush.
Joe shield thee well for this. But what see I? No Thisby do I see. O wicked wall, through whom I see no bliss, cursed by thy stones for thus deceiving me.
The wall, methinks, being sensible, should curse again.
No, in truth, sir, he should not. Deceiving me is Thisby's cue. She is to enter now, and I am to spy her through the wall. You shall see. It will fall pat as I told you. Yonder she comes.
So again, they're not seasoned actors. Anybody in here take a drama course? Yeah, so you know that there is that fourth wall, right? That should never come down unless there's a really good, reason for it. Here, the fourth wall comes down and Bottom addresses the audience and says, no, just wait. It gets better. It gets better. Like, this is supposed to happen. Anyways, not seasoned actors. Keep going.
O wall, full often hast thou heard my moans, for parting my fair Pyramus and me. My cherry lips have often kissed thy stones with lime and hair knit up in thee.
I see a voice now. Will I to the chink? I to spy. I can hear my Thisby's face. Thisby.
So again, lots of comic blunders here. He sees the voice and he hears her face. Oh, geez. Okay, keep going.
My love thou art, my love I think.
Think what thou wilt. I am thy lover's grace, am like Lymander, and am I trust you still.
And I, like Helen, till the fates kill me.
So I'm going to just stop this right here because I want to mention again about the fates. The fates are the three sisters. They're sometimes called three hags. And you will be introduced next year, when you study Macbeth. The three fates, or the three weird sisters, are going to play a really important role in the understanding of Macbeth. And so here, the point that I want to make is that the fates, these sisters are in control, apparently, mythologically, they're in control of whether you live or die. They spin a thread of your life, and whenever they feel like it, they can just cut that thread and you die. So a couple more times in this scene, we're gonna have some characters mention the fates or the sisters, and these are the people who are in myth in control of our lives. Yes, keep going.
Not Shapos to Procrus was so true.
As Shaphos to Procrus, I to you.
Oh, kiss me through the hole of this vile wall.
I kiss the wall's hole, not your lips at all.
Wilt thou at Neve's tomb meet me straightway?
Tide life, tide death, I come without delay.
Okay, so Pyramus says, meet me at Nina's tomb. It's supposed to be Nina's tomb. He has a comic blunder here. And Thisby says, I will meet you there. Whether I encounter life or death, I will be there. Absolutely. Okay, because we're videotaping this, folks, I just need you to just be as quiet as you possibly can. Yes, we are. Yeah, so any little noise will go on there. So just shh. Okay, Wall.
Thus have I, while my part discharged so, and being done, this wall away till so.
Captain Obvious. Okay, keep going. Theseus.
Now is the moral down between the two neighbors.
No remedy, my lord, when walls are so willful to hear without warning.
This is the silliest stuff that I have ever heard.
Yeah, it's the silliest stuff. This is ridiculous. Yeah, that's okay. Let's keep going.
The best in this kind are but shadows, and the worst are no worse, if imagination of any.
Okay, so this word shadows, it's important to point out that shadow is like a pun. It's a word play because it has two meanings. Shadow could represent an actor. Actors are called shadows. Or what else? Oh, hang tight. Shadow could also represent, right here, spirits, fairies. So it's wordplay. Fairies or spirits or actors. Okay, keep going.
It must be your imagination then and not theirs.
If we imagine no worse of them than they are of themselves, they may pass for excellent men. Here comes two noble beasts, a man and a lion.
Okay, so Theseus here says, you know what, it doesn't matter if they're really bad actors. Sometimes when you have a really good actor, they can create wonderful imagery just through their speech. So you have to still imagine, even with a good actor. So then he says, well, these are pretty bad actors. We have to imagine that they're better. So he says, you must use your imagination for both good and bad actors. But he does comment, these guys are not very good. Okay, keep going.
You ladies, whose gentle hearts do fear the smallest monstrous mouse that creeps on the floor, may now perchance both quake and tremble here, when lion rough in wildest rage doth roar. Then know that I, one snug the joiner, am a lion fell, nor else no lion's dam. For if I should as lion come in strife into this place, 'twere pity on my life.
So again, yeah, he announces that he is not really a lion. Duh, really? So he's not seasoned. Yeah, the audience knows he's not really a lion. It's a play. Theseus.
A very gentle beast, and of a good conscience.
The very best at a beast, my lord, that I saw.
This lion is a very fox, very sound.
True, and a goose for his discretion.
Not so, my lord, for his valor cannot carry his discretion, and the fox carries the goose.
His discretion, I am sure, cannot carry his valor. And the goose carries not the fox. It is well to leave it to his discretion, and let's listen to the moon.
This lanthorn doth the horn moon crescent.
Should have worn the horns on his head.
He is no crescent, and his horns are invisible within the circumference.
This lanthorn doth the horn moon present. Myself the man, I the moon do seem to be.
Okay, so Moonshine says, I am representing a crescent moon, right? So a crescent moon kind of has two horns on it. Kind of looks like a backwards C. And so Demetrius says, yeah, he should have worn the horns on his head. He's not that good. And Theseus says he is no crescent. A crescent moon is thin, right? And so what he's saying here is he's pretty fat to be a crescent moon. Okay, keep going.
This is the greatest error of all the rest. The man should be put into the lanthorn. How is it else the man in the moon?
Good point here. If he's supposed to be the man in the moon, why is he holding the moon? Right? That's what he's saying. This is just ridiculous. He's saying. Demetrius.
There is not to come there for the candle, for you see is already in snow.
I am aware of this moon, what he would change.
It appears by his small light and discretion that he is in this wave, but yet in courtesy and all reason must stay the time.
Proceed, moon.
All that I have to say is to tell you that the lanthorn is the moon. I, the man in the moon, this thorn bush, my thorn bush, and this dog, my dog.
So this whole myth, you may not be aware of this, but there were old wives' tales before astrology became as adept as it is. People used to look at the moon and see little shadows on the moon. And some people said, oh, that shadow there looks like a man. And this little shadow over here looks like a dog. So the dog must belong to the man in the moon. And then it lit up sometimes. And so it's said to be a lantern. So that's why he is, saying that he's all these things. Okay.
Why all these should be in the lanthorn, for all these are the moon, but silence, here comes Thisbe.
This is old news to Where is my love?
Lion must roar. Who's the lion?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Wanna roar?
Roar. Okay, Demetrius.
Roar, roar, lion.
Well, run, Disney.
Boshun, moon, truly the moon shines with a good grace.
The lion shakes Thisbe's mantle, her scarf, and then exits.
Well, mouse the lion.
And so the lion vanished.
And then came Pyramus.
Sweet moon, I thank thee for thy sunny beams. I thank thee, moon, for shining now so bright. For by thy gracious golden glittering gleams, I trust to take of truest Thisbe sight.
So again, just that first line here that he says, I thank thee for thy sunny beams. Again, this is a comic blunder. Sunlight is sunny, not moonlight, bud, right? We see that when he is on stage and he is giving lines, that he likes to make use of overdone alliteration. Alliteration can be very impressive, but when it's overdone like this, it's kind of humorous, right? Gracious, golden, glittering gleams. It's overdone alliteration. Okay, keep going.
But stay, O spite, what mark, poor knight, what dreadful dole is here? Eyes, do you see? How can it be? O dainty dust, O dear, thy mantle good, what stained with blood? Approach, ye fury, furries, O fates, come, cut thread and thrum, quail, crush, concluding quell.
Yeah, so again, more overdone alliteration. It has the opposite effect. He thinks it's going to make him look like a really seasoned actor, but it makes him look kind of ridiculous, right? Now, I'm going to point out again here, he is referring to the three fates. Approach ye furies hell, O fates. Come, cut the thread on the thread bolt. So again, the three fates spun the thread of your life. When they cut the thread, then you would die. Yeah. Keep going. Theseus?
This passion and the death of a dear friend would go near to make a man look sad.
They strew my heart, but I pity the man.
Oh, wherefore, nature didst thou lines frame, since lime vile hath here deflowered, my dear, which is no, which was the fairest dame that lived, that loved, that liked, and that looked with cheer. Come tears confound, outsword and wound, the path of Pyramus, that left path, where heart doth hop, thus die I, thus. Now am I dead, now am I fled, my soul is in the sky, tongue, lose thy light, moon, take thy flight.
Okay,
now
so
die.
yeah, we get to the point where we're like, die already, right? Again, some comic blunders. He says, tongue, lose thy light, moon, take thy flight. It really should be tongue, take thy flight, and moon, lose thy light. So lots of little comic blunders here. Demetrius.
No die but an ace for him, for he is but one.
Less than an ace man, for he is dead, he is nothing.
With the help of a surgeon, he might get recovered from death.
How chance moonshine is gone before Thisbe comes back and finds her lover.
She will find him by starlight. Here she comes, and her passion ends the flame.
Re-enter Thisbe.
Methinks she should not use a long one for such a Pyramus. I hope she will be brief.
A mote will turn the balance. Which Thisbe is the better. He for a man God warned us, she for a woman God blesses.
Lysander. Is that Cameron?
Oh yeah, she hath spied him already with those sweet eyes.
And thus she means
Fidelicate. Yeah, complain. She's going to complain.
Asleep, my love. What? Dead, my dove. O Pyramus, arise. Speak, quite dumb. Dead, but tomb. Must cover thy sweet eyes. These lily lips, this cherry nose, these yellow cowslip cheeks are gone. lovers make known. His eyes will greet as these. O sisters three, come to me. With hands as pale as milk, lay them in gore. Since you have shore, with shears his thread of silk. Tongue, not a sword. Come, trusty sword. Come, blade, my breast imbue. And farewell, friends. Thus Bisbee ends. Adieu, adieu, adieu.
Okay, so and that's the end of the play. I want to just point out though, she asks the sisters three. Again, she is referring to the three fates. She calls on the three fates to help her die. She says, come to me and help me die, since you've already killed my love, right? So she's talking to the three fates and saying, cut the thread of silk, and I may die along with Pyramus that you already killed. Okay, Theseus.
Moonshine and lion are left to bury the dead.
A and wall 2.
Bottom, Christian?
Starting off. No, I assure you, the wall is down. That part of their fathers. Will it please you to see the epilogue, or to hear a burial mask dance between two of our company?
No epilogue, I pray you, for your play needs no excuse. Never excuse, for when the players are all dead, there need none to be blamed. Marry, if he that writ it had played Pyramus and hanged himself in Thisbe's garter, it would have been a fine tragedy, and so it is, truly, and very notably discharged. How come your Burgomass glittery epilogue alone?
Okay, so this is a really important point. At the end here, right at the top of the page, Theseus says, and very notably discharged. It's very, very important that the Duke gives them his thumbs up. That's essentially what he's saying. I will discharge you very notably. I will say to you, I will announce that I have enjoyed your play, and I will let you go and give you the thumbs up. So this is an important point because it means they're going to get paid, and they're super happy about that, right? Now, if they would have offended the ladies in some way, they are right that their lives could be at stake. But they haven't offended the ladies or anybody else, and they have been notably discharged. They got the thumbs up. Okay, so they're doing a little dance to end things off. Theseus.
The iron tongue of midnight hath told 12. Lovers to bed, 'tis almost fairy time. I fear we shall outsleep the coming Lord as much as we this night have overwatched. This palpable gross play hath well beguiled the heavy gate of night, sweet friends to bed. A fortnight we hold this insolity, and many revels in the joy.
Okay, so Theseus announces, it is midnight now, it's time, we've stayed up too late already, it's time for us to go home and get some sleep. And he says, sweet friends to bed, a fortnight hold we this solemnity. A fortnight is it's what? Oh, yeah, that's not what they're talking about. A fortnight, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. This type of fortnight really refers to an amount of time. It's gone out of popular use. It represents 2 weeks. So fortnight is 2 weeks. So what he's saying here, sweet friends, go to bed. We'll be celebrating for 2 more weeks. So a fortnight hold we this solemnity. We'll be celebrating for another 2 weeks. Yeah, so just go to bed. It's not over yet. Now, everybody leaves and Puck comes on stage here. Now, this is fairy time. As soon as it hits midnight, the fairies come out. And so Puck, being a fairy, has come out.
Alright, so I just start talking now?
Sure.
Now the hungry lion roars, and the wolf behowls the moon, whilst the heavy ploughman snores, all with weary task foredone. Now the wasted brands do glow, whilst the screech owl, screeching loud, puts the wretch that lies in woe, in reverence of a shrew. Now it is the time of night, that the graves all gaping wide, everyone lets forth his sprite in the church way past to glide, and we fairies that do run by the triple Hecate's team from the presence of the sun, following darkness like a dream. Now our frolic, not a mouse, shall disturb this hallowed house. I am sent with broom before to sweep the dust behind the door.
Okay, good job. So he's just announcing, yes, this is fairy time. It's midnight. Everybody goes to bed. Everybody's exhausted. Now the wasted brands do glow. The logs in people's home fires have turned to embers. So they're just glowing that red. Again, the owls are screeching. It's nighttime. And then he says, the graves, and this is like a little legend, that at nighttime, graves could open up and their souls or their sprites, their like fairies come out and like ghosts, the ghosts of the people who have died come out at night. And again, these are just all like legends. He says, yeah, and we fairies that do run, it's our time to come out and do our thing. So he's saying, now that everyone is merry, no one will disturb this blessed house. He says at the very end, I am sent with broom before to sweep the dust behind the door. So let's take a look at the annotation on the other side here. It says, Robin Goodfellow was a household spirit and often was pictured holding a broom. Here, he's been sent to clean the threshold for Oberon and Titania. So this is symbolic. He makes sure that any dirt is gone. So only good vibes, right? So that's what he's doing here with his broom, only good vibes, getting rid of the dirt. Okay, Oberon.
Through the house gave glimmering light by the dead and drowsy fire. Every elf and fairy sprite, office light from burn to briar. And this city after me, singing dance it trippingly.
First rehearse your song by rote, to each word a warbling note, hand in hand with fairy grace, will we sing and bless this place.
Okay, so his foreshadowing in the previous act has come true. He foreshadowed previously that a couple of things would happen by the end of the play. He says to Titania, I'll explain to you what happened with Bottom later on. But for now, I want you to know that we are going to dance tomorrow night at Theseus's house, and that is what they're doing. So sing and dance trippingly, that's what they're doing. The fairies are dancing in Duke Theseus's house. And the other thing that he foreshadows is that all the fairies are going to go into all of the rooms and bless everybody in the house. And that happens as well. So Oberon is a rare type of fairy who somehow is able to see into the future and what will happen. Now, whether he's causing those things to happen or influencing them, or he can just see into the future, we don't know, right? But it's important to note that if he foreshadows something, it will likely come true. Okay, Oberon.
Now until the break of day, through this house each fairy stray, to the best bride bed will weave, which by us shall blessed be. And the issue there create ever shall be fortunate, so shall all the couples three ever true and loving be.
All right, so I'm just going to stop you right there because he's foreshadowing here. He is saying these three couples will eternally be happy and in love. So because we know from his previous foreshadowing that it comes true, we can assume that this one will come true as well, right? Okay, keep going.
And the blots of nature's hand shall not in their issue stand, never mole, hair, lip, nor scar, no mark prodigious, such as are despised in nativity, shall upon their children be. With this field you consecrate, every fairy take his gate, and each several chamber bless, do this palace with sweet peace. And the owner of it blessed, ever shall in safety rest, trip away, make no stay, make me all by break of day.
So again, he foreshadows a couple more things. And again, that's important because we believe that, or it's pretty safe to say that his foreshadowing comes true. So he goes on to say, sometimes in nature, children are born with defects. And he's saying that's not going to happen to these children, the offspring of these three couples. So he says they will not have a mole or a hair lip or a scar or any kind of defect that sometimes happens in birth, despised in nativity, despised at birth. So the fairies are going to consecrate, which means bless. They're going to bless everybody in the house. Every fairy take your go your way and get into every single bedroom, every single room in the house, and bless it. And then he's going to explain, or he explains that they're going to bless it with water, with like the dew. Some people, in some religions, the priest might walk down an aisle and throw some holy water, or sometimes when you walk into a church, depending on your religion, you may have a little bit of water that you will dip your hand into. So the water, it is said to bless people. So that's essentially what Oberon is saying here, that the fairies are going to go around and have sprinkle a little bit of dew, a little bit of water on everybody, and bless them eternally. Yes, eternally. So he blesses Duke Theseus and Hippolyta eternally. Throughout this palace with sweet peace, and the owner of it blessed, ever shall in safety rest. Forever. Okay, Puck. Now, Puck is alone on stage, and when a character is alone on stage, it's called a soliloquy. A soliloquy has a couple of there are a couple of reasons why somebody gives a soliloquy. One of them is to express their personal feelings about things. So that's what Puck is going to do here. He is going to come on stage. He's going to end off Shakespeare's play, and he is going to share some of his inner feelings and emotions. Okay.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here, while these visions did appear, and this weak and idle theme, no more yielding, but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend, if you pardon, you will mend. And I, as I am an honest Puck, if we have unearned luck, now to escape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long, else the Puck a liar call. So good night until you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.
Nice. Okay, so let's just go through this really quickly. Let's turn back to page 173. Page 173. He says, if we shadows, again, remember shadows is wordplay. It could be two things. It could be sprites or fairies, or actors. Actors are also referred to as shadows. So he's saying, the characters here on stage, I hope we haven't offended anyone. If we have, you can look at it in this way. He says, just imagine that you came into this auditorium and you had fallen asleep. You fell asleep in your seat and you imagined all of this. If you don't like our play, you can just imagine that you fell asleep and you dreamed all of it. So he says, please imagine if you don't like it, because then that way you won't have to find fault with what we've performed. So if you pardon, we will mend, he says. So if you pardon us for not doing a fantastic job here on stage, don't worry, we'll get better. If you pardon us, we'll mend, we'll get better and better. So he says, and as I am an honest Puck, if we have unearned luck, meaning I'm telling you the truth. This is how I feel. Sometimes I do get lucky, but right now what I want to do is escape the serpent's tongue, he says. And by this he means hissing and booing of the audience. He really hopes that the audience enjoyed the performance. He doesn't want them to boo and hiss. Sometimes they would throw rotten fruit if they didn't like the performance. So Puck is on stage and he's like, okay, if you don't like our play, if you don't like how we performed it, just pretend it was all a dream. And don't worry, next time, I promise, I'm an honest Puck. I promise you, next time we'll do much, much better. Much, much better. And so then he says, I want to escape the serpent's tongue. We will make amends ere long. So he says this a couple times. We'll get better and better and better. Don't worry. Else the Puck a liar call. Don't call me a liar. I promise you we'll get better and better. So he doesn't want the audience to hiss and boo at him, or worse than that, throw rotten fruit. He says, don't worry, be patient. Be patient with me and our acting company, and we will get better and better. So then he says, so good night unto you all. Give me your hands. This is not literal, right? It's figurative. It means give me your hands. Clap, applaud for us. And he says, you know, if we're friends, if you enjoyed this performance, clap your hands, give me your hands, and Robin shall restore amends. So he promises, if you clap, he's kind of bribing them. He says, if you clap for us and not throw rotten fruit at us, the next performance, I promise you, it will be fantastic. It will knock you off your socks, right? So he kind of makes a deal with the audience. Just don't hiss or throw rotten fruit at us. We will do much better next time. Be patient with us. Now, this is kind of like, this parallels what Theseus says about the Athenian workmen when they performed. Philostrate says, oh, dear God, you don't want to hear this play. It is not that good. And Theseus says, actually, I am patient with people who perform genuinely and sincerely. So Puck is asking the audience to be patient, that what they have performed with great sincerity, and they are doing their best, similar to how the Athenian workmen have done their best. If the noble people didn't enjoy the performance of Pyramus and Thisbe, they practiced what Theseus said to do, right? Just imagine that they were better than they were, and we can do that with our imagination, and let's just respect them for their effort. And so that's essentially what Puck is saying here. Just like how Theseus said to Hippolyta, we'll give them a chance. Let's hear that play. We'll give them a chance and we'll respect them for their genuine efforts. Robin here, or Puck, is saying basically the same thing. If you don't think we were that good up on stage, just don't hiss and boo at us. I promise you, I promise, I will make amends. We will make amends next time around. Just clap for us and don't hiss, basically. Okay, and that is the end of the play. All right, so we have some time here. I'm gonna get you to just take out Act 5 vocab. We probably should have gone through that first, but I wasn't sure if we would have enough time to get through it all.